Quick.
Live at 5:52.
5-ish.
Hey guys, welcome to another Health Unplugged Radio Live podcast.
One day you're going to
I'm
get
here
that
with,
right.
with Roger Wood, and have a nice adjustment.
Yeah. And with
Clunked back into place. We were discussing with regards to the topics, and something came up in a couple of conversations this week with regard to a healthy diet and the general perception of what is a healthy diet and how the media has potentially pushed a healthy diet over the years to change what we actually look at. And I thought that would be a good topic for this. So,
yeah, particularly I think relevant this time of year of where people are now they finished the dry January and
Yep.
now going into flooded February.
Yep.
And then the bit of the eating the cabbage diet has started to wane its appeal. So it does go back down to what is a healthy diet. And I agree with you totally. We have this discussion, through with some patients of ours, and when you in a questionnaire or you're filling out a form, as you said, a lot of people say, yeah, well, we eat healthily. In other words, like I eat veg, and we eat a healthy, balanced diet. And then unless you probe a bit and you say, well, what do you have? What is this? It's quite interesting what people's perception is. So in their mind, they're not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. They are following that standard kind of westernized, Americanized based westernized diet
standard American.
I have my cereal in the morning, I have this and I have that, and I have my snacks, and so I keep my blood sugar levels regular, and they are following
the whole meal
foods. They're not making it up. They're following a perceived idea of what a healthy diet is. And what we're kind of suddenly where we're talking aware of, there's a lot of misinformation and misguided presumptions of what a healthy diet is. Would that be
Yeah.
right?
So this came about looking. So I get clients to fill out a health screening, a questionnaire, and we go in depth, and I can see what's going on. One of the things that I look to do if I get a blood test from someone is not asking what the symptoms are before I've looked at the blood test, or if I see a screening, like I don't want to have a bias on it necessarily because maybe I won't see the other things. But there were really high levels of issues with glucose management, constantly having afternoon energy dips, waking up feeling tired, waking up through the night, not able to get to sleep, just cold hands and feet, like circulation issues going on, having to have coffee or exercise to boost brain function. And then there was low motivation, low moods, and depressive issues going on. And it was like a really extreme thing. And I just realized looking at this, that is this healthy? So I asked this person, I said, what is your diet like? And they replied that it's a healthy diet. They have predominantly homemade food. It's not all processed stuff. And that got me to asking, thinking there's more to this. And I asked, is it high protein? And this got me thinking that, again, like in a way that I've failed my audience. Why is that? Well, because what seems normal to me and is basic to me isn't basic to other people.
No.
So I want to put out more content like that. And yes, I have the advanced stuff, but we still need to put this foundational information out there. Now, the diet was, first off, was 2 slices of white bread, and then they mentioned vegetable oil or vegetable spread rather than butter, as if it's healthier. Then a banana for mid-morning, ham sandwich, I believe it was, for lunch, nothing in the afternoon. Then in the evening was spaghetti bolognese or something. And first off, there was no protein apart from a couple of slices of ham until the evening meal.
Yeah.
But then as a result, what happened was a packet of crisps and a couple of chocolate bars in the evening. And then that's when there's this roller coaster of blood sugar spiking up and down, which is very, very stressful. And actually, I was reading or doing a lecture, looking into some studies and talking about blood glucose spikes up and down. Be interesting. Like if it's up and down, you'd think that would be better than constantly high. It's actually more stressful on the body to go up and down than to be chronically high, which is kind of crazy.
We can go into blood sugar levels just for an hour, can't
we?
Because of that, and we'll touch on that. But I had also a patient who was saying that they were looking, eating healthier and focusing on that. So I said, and I believe that most people, when they look from a diet and they want to, so you get two things, don't you? You got the I want to be healthier, or you got the weight loss.
Mm-hmm.
So and they don't necessarily mean the same thing. So she said, I'm focusing on eating healthier and the young mom and that. And I said, okay, that's a dream. I said, what have you focused on? I think most people are aware of their lifestyle where to make small increments they know probably where they could tighten up and improve. And she says, well, nothing much. I mean, we eat, as you say, we eat a healthy diet. I said, well, just give me an overview. And it was along similar lines. She says, well, I have my yogurt and my cereal in the morning, and then I might have like a biscuit or something in mid morning, and then I'll have grab something on whilst I'm out during the day, and then in the evening, and then bits and pieces maybe in the afternoon. Then we have an evening meal, but we have vegetables, and then later on, and then I'll only probably just have like a snack on a pack of crisps because you always got to have a pack of crisps, don't you?
Yeah.
So I went and said to her, I said, well, the interesting thing, and I said, well, why do you choose or what do you focus on? She says, well, I worked out that as long as my calories are right, then I can have my. So we had this kind of the
This is where the
calorie
Weight
count.
Watchers point
Yeah, we
system
had the
comes in.
calorie discussion of how do you know how they produce a calorie? Do you know that how they try and work out how much energy is from burning food, and that's not how we. So we had that discussion of it, and I said, the thing is, it also depends on the makeup of the foods and how you process them. So different foods have different influences. So we started trying to go into the macros elements of just realizing that you had a lot of white, a lot of carbs, and then as you're saying, you got the poor regulation of blood sugar levels, and then you've got the insulin resistance and all that. And she was like, "Well, that's interesting," because my my father, he's just been diagnosed diabetes, is a diabetic, but it's the better one. Which I said, well, that's lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I said, well, and the beauty of that is if it's picked up really early, it's actually reversible, but it's usually hard because you've got to look at the whole lifestyle. And he says, but he's not overweight. And I said, there is a lot of skinny
I see
diabetics out there.
more diabetics now or pre-diabetics that I speak to, or people that have been diagnosed as pre-diabetic that aren't overweight because of the stressful lifestyle they live in.
Yeah, yeah. And it's that poor regulation, it's that insulin resistance, it's the poor regulation of so as you're saying, it's the spikes in that are far more stressful on the system than if you had like a fasting or if you had a sustained lower and then you build up resistance and then the body responds accordingly. So it was really interesting, but,
Yeah.
but the core of it was, in her mind, her perception from the information that she's been exposed to and has accumulated through her lifetime, that was regarded as eating
Well, yeah,
healthier.
if we look at like the trends of like the low fat diet, then there was the low carb diet and all these different things that come along. I think going back to what that person was eating, I gave them some tips and just to say we're not going to. Like, I've got a guide that I give to my clients, the 7 glucose hacks, talking about like always have make sure your carbs always have a dressing on them. Like make sure your carbs have friends. Like put mayonnaise or olive oil on them or something like that. Some fatty or protein based dressing as well, just to help stabilize your glucose. And so the thing was like if you were to have white bread, if you wanted white bread, which is going to be better options, but don't have vegetable spread. Have butter if you want
Yeah.
that, but have peanut butter as well or nut butter on top, so you've got some fats and a little bit of protein on there. And then for the snack, like maybe have some nuts, or for lunch, you don't need to have bread again. Just have a chicken salad or something, or like you can get loads of avocado salads and smoked salmon stuff, like protein based salad. And
But I think that somewhere along the line, there's a void of actually understanding what is a carb, what is a protein, and the how they actually benefit
how would you
of
simplify protein and carb?
um, so how do I simplify it? I kind of don't simplify. I just kind of go through that there are most people have heard of the term carbohydrates, or I talk in carbohydrates as carbohydrates is sugars, but isn't sugar. So they're every carbohydrate. So a lot of people say, well, I'm sugar is bad. So the message out that is, look, sugar is bad. So I don't have sugar. So I don't have sugar in my tea. And then
But then you're
they
having
physically
potatoes and
they physically
fruits.
see the sugar, and then they don't realize that the grains, so I talk about the whites. The whites are like the carbs, the potato, the bread. The ones which are not great, what we call the crappy carbs, are the ones which go into sugar quickest. So you're hinting along the glycemic index, but you're talking about the whites. Then the fats are like the oils and the butters, that people kind of get their idea of that. And all of them is kind of, it's not so much good or bad, but there's better ones and ones we will want less of. And then proteins is basically your pulses, your legumes, and your meats.
So I would simplify it even more. Obviously, like with pulses and stuff like that, there are going to be carbohydrates in there.
Yeah.
But if you want to say carbohydrates come from the ground, protein comes from animals.
Yeah.
Like that's very, very basic form, because obviously there's vegetarian and vegan like sources and stuff. But if something is grown from the ground, chances are that it's a carbohydrate.
And the key thing I think to illustrate to people is that, so some people then go, yeah, well, I don't want to go no carb. You've got to have carbohydrates. And I said, you 100%, you do need to have carbohydrates. But it's very, very hard to have no carbohydrates, because as soon as you eat your vegetables, they're going to have carbohydrates in it.
Yeah, but they're going to be fibrous carbs.
Yeah.
Which have
so
a different
you can break
impact.
it. So it's actually very hard to be no carb. I'm going no carb diet. What you're really usually doing is you're breaking down the pork. You're trying to minimize or reduce the crappy carbs.
And I think a lot of people then go for the extremes, as we know, and then crave chocolate and loads of other stuff.
Yeah.
And then say, I'm getting this sugar withdrawal. No, you're not. You've just got poor blood glucose management. So maybe we need to manage your glucose a little bit before we then take away some of the carbs, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Or
how many people can't go without eating every now and again. They've got to eat something, And it's like, that's quite a sign of poor regulation.
Yeah, if someone's getting hangry, like if someone can't go like 3-4 hours without eating, and this is where we look at it. So when glucose drops, we need glucose to fuel the brain, right? So we then release a thing called glucagon. Then if that's not working to raise our glucose levels, we then have cortisol, or growth hormone and cortisol, which cortisol is stressful. And then like a lot of people say, oh, I've got the shakes. That's the worst type, because we've released adrenaline.
Yeah.
And that's going to be super, super stressful on the body. So if you're going
it's a bit like, it's a bit like also looking at like we've spoken before of heart rate variability.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that your heart rate goes up or goes down, it's how well quickly does it recover.
Yeah.
And when you can't manage your physiology because you haven't eaten for a while, that's really a sign of
it's
poor regulation.
And I used to be like that when I competed in bodybuilding. Now, if someone would have seen me like in physically lean, someone that trains a lot, you think healthy. No, not if I'm going to get lightheaded after that.
No, and there's a lot of people, the old thing is you can't outrun a bad diet. There's a lot of people exercising so that they can eat poorly.
Yeah, which is stress on
because
stress.
They look healthy, they're not putting on weight, so everyone perceives that, well, they go to the gym, they're healthy, but there's a lot of, and that's where you get that skinny diabetic. They are physically active.
You're physically active, and you go into the gym to deal with the stresses of your day-to-day job, which is causing you more stress, which is then giving you the reliance on caffeine, which is causing more stress, which is then meaning more blood glucose imbalances and less sleep. So it's this vicious cycle. And I think people get overwhelmed when it comes to changing it. So how do we do that? Just like this person yesterday, that if I'd have said, don't have any bread or anything like this or anything like that, well, let's just put some peanut butter on the bread. Let's just add a salad at lunchtime.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I do have in my questionnaires is talking about, do you feel tired after eating gluten or like wheat or grains or some grains and stuff, and floury things? And it's a gluten section, and like, ever feel bloated and stuff? And then this person's was high. So I said, so they come up as high on here. Yeah. So when you eat bread, you feel tired and you feel bad. So why do you eat bread? Because I like it. And you're like, well, this is where people have to make this decision.
I had one.
I like bread. Like, I love bread, but I don't eat it.
I had one answer to that, which said, but what do you put to cover the ham?
Yeah,
And I was like, but you can eat ham with other things.
yeah.
And I was like, but then it won't be a ham sandwich. And it's like, no, they were so holding on to that they liked a ham sandwich,
This is where
but
society has boxed people
they had
in.
all the brain fog of that afterwards. But they still used eventually got the connection. But they were like, but I've got it. That's
Yeah,
my ham
and this is
sandwich.
where, like, for breakfast, like, well, what do you have if you don't have cereal? Like, well, I have eggs. Like, might have sausages, might have steak, might have chicken. You have chicken for breakfast. It's my first meal of the day. Like, it's not any different.
Yeah, we've got those two brothers who pressed some corn and made
Yeah,
a certain cereal to thank
exactly,
for making everyone think that they need a cereal to start the day.
exactly. And I think this is where I want to put more knowledge out about the foundational stuff, because there needs to be more out there. And I think we are fighting a bit of a losing battle against the big corporations, because they can put out this 11s, like, have this because it's going to fill you up until lunchtime, or have this breakfast bar that's going to fill you up until lunchtime.
Yeah, well,
But actually, in reality, it doesn't.
this breakfast bar which we've manufactured, which then on paper covers all the vitamins, nutrients, and that, but they are chemically produced. They're not in a natural form, and it ticks all the, and it's got a low calorie. It ticks all the marketing and the
Yep.
need to hear that because I want
It's
low
high in protein
calorie.
with 7 grams out of every 100. I
Yeah, and
think, is it 7 or 9 grams out of 100 you have to have protein? Like 7 or 9% to be classed as high protein, something like that. It's very low.
I think yeah, I think it's close to seven. But yeah, I think the big thing is that perception of healthy, but actually ending up with a poor rig or poor glucose management is the big it's the big challenge
Mm-hmm.
because
Definitely.
I think people are they get in the message that sugar is bad, but either they don't read labels, and so they're not realizing that hey, that breakfast bar, which is covered in a yogurt covering or frosty something, it actually um, it isn't sugar, but it's a sugar substitute, or
Yep.
it'll spike your sugar still, but on the label it says low sugar.
And if you do want to have the dessert, just make sure you have it as a dessert. Don't leave it like 2 hours. Have it close to your protein and fat meal. Have a steak, then have a little bit of ice cream afterwards if you want. But don't have steak, wait 2 hours, then have ice cream. I think that there's little, much as like hacks is a played out word as such. There's little things you can do with that. Even certain things like eating like your vegetables first, like and your protein first before you have your chips. That stuff has
Well,
been shown to make a difference.
and also just that if you're then having realizing also where I kind of think a lot of times also going back to the how do you feel afterwards. You know, sometimes also you'll have highly processed food or low nutrient based food, or food which is like very particularly your carb based. It tastes nice. It ticks all the boxes. Maybe it's got a little bit of oil, fat with it as well, so it lights up. But what do you like half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour later?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are then looking for that another thing, or they're suddenly on the munchies. So they're now looking for another highly carb food. So you're getting that, you had that spike, it's dropped again, and now you're thinking, I need that another hit.
I think I've seen so many people, and one of my specialist areas, as we know, is sleep, getting people to be able to sleep through the night. And one of the ways we do that is managing glucose. And I've seen drastic changes of people coming off sleep medication that wasn't really giving them restorative sleep. As we know, it just knocks them out.
Yeah.
People that have suffered from 20 years of insomnia by changing their nutrition protocol and managing their glucose levels.
Yeah,
So powerful. So
but this
powerful.
is the frustrating thing is because there isn't enough of the question of why. So if someone says I've been doing this for even weeks, but never mind months or years, and they go this is what I take and this is what I do, and then you say to them, why would the body not want to go to sleep? And
Mm-hmm.
they go, I don't know. I've just always done this, and there has never been that question. Either no one's asked them directly, or no one's even said to them, isn't it interesting? The body is designed to do this. Why for you? Why would it not be doing that? It serves no purpose for the body to decide that now I don't need sleep. So it's encouraging that question, as we've said many times, of why, and then so understanding, right, this medication, this might be a short step, but do I have an understanding of why the physiology of my body would be giving me this feedback? So why after I've eaten, or why is it that I feel brain fog, or I have a mid-morning slouch or a mid-afternoon dip? I used to find that with having, bread or so at lunchtime. I would get that brain
Yep.
fog, and then you're thinking, well,
And you
actually,
need the coffee
I
to
need
kick
to
you
be
up.
on the ball with work. Why? That doesn't serve me, but why is it? And I broke it down, and eventually it's like, I don't really need to have bread at that time.
Yep.
It does, because my physiology changes. So it's all about what and why, but understanding, yeah, what is a healthy diet is a very loose term these days.
It's very much individual, but I think managing your glucose leads to a healthier diet.
It's a vital part of encouraging normal physiology and adaptiveness and robustness, which ultimately is what it's all about. A body which is able to adapt to its environment, can take a stressful day and bounce back, is really a healthy body. Right, guys. What about you? What have you found? Food is medicine, but also it can derail us. So it'd be great to hear back from you what your experiences are, what you've changed or tried. If anything we've spoken about touches base, or you need some more information, as always, Ollie and I are about. Drop us a comment,
Yep.
get hold of us, and we'd love to touch base and engage more. Until next time,
Take care.
see you then.